Hello again, everybody. So yeah, it's getting a bit colder now. Starting to move through November. It's getting chillier, and yeah, I thought now would be a perfect time to do another one of my riding in various weather conditions videos. Obviously this one's going to be about riding in the cold. I'm not going to cover riding in snow or ice because I'll do that in a separate video, but I will cover riding in the cold in general and also riding in the dark, because some of you guys obviously commute to work. Chances are if you do, it's probably dark when you leave in the morning and dark when you come home at the end of the day, this time of year anyway. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, in my opinion, one of the most important things when you're riding a bike is to be comfortable, and the reason for this is just because any amount of discomfort that you suffer whilst riding is going to have a detrimental effect on your ability to concentrate, because a certain amount of your thought process is going into the fact that you're uncomfortable. So obviously, when it's cold this time of year, that's going to be particularly a problem, because you're going to be freezing. Especially, I think one of the worst parts of your body when you're riding a bike is your hands, which obviously quite quickly get absolutely frozen. So, what can we do? Best bit of advice I can give you for riding in cold weather is to not care what you look like, but rather go for basically dress to be comfortable, not to look cool. So if you take me today for instance, I am wearing a nice big coat. I've actually got my waterproof trousers on as well. Now the reason for that is because the waterproof trousers do a fantastic job of keeping the wind off your legs, because the wind doesn't penetrate them quite so bad. And on top of that, it also sort of traps a layer of warm air between the layers, because the more layers you've got on, the more warm air can be trapped, and that does keep you warm as well. So that's the reason for that. And then, as you can see, I've also got these very fetching hand mitten things on my handlebars as well. Now, none of these things look particularly cool, but they do keep me incredibly comfortable and warm. And this is what I mean, like, you can dress cool and freeze your bollocks off, in which case, well, you're a bit daft, or you can sacrifice looking cool for being comfortable, and you will thank yourself for it when you get to the other end of your journey. Because, when I get to the other end of my journey now, I am going to be toasty warm, my hands will have full movement, because there's nothing worse, and I'm sure most of you will have experienced this. You ride your bike in the winter, and you've not got warm enough gloves or whatever, and your hands just get frozen. You get to the other end and you can barely move them. It's just horrible. I've done that a few times when I first started riding, and I don't particularly fancy experiencing it again, so I would much rather look a bit dorky and be comfortable than try and look cool and freeze. So that's the best bit of advice I can give on that. Now obviously there's various things you can do to your bike to make it a bit more comfortable for winter riding. If you have a naked style bike like I do, you could potentially look at putting a screen on the front of it, possibly to deflect a bit of the wind. You can go for the handlebar muffs. I would definitely recommend those actually. The handlebar muffs do make a big difference, because they obviously deflect the wind off your hands, plus they themselves are fleece lined as well, and they're quite cheap as well, so that's obviously quite good. You can go for various wind deflectors. You can install aftermarket heated grips if you if your bike doesn't already come with them. I do intend to do that with this bike, and I have done it with several of my previous bikes, but it's not 100% necessary. It's just something that I personally quite like. But if you've not got a particularly big budget, but you just want to keep warm, I would concentrate more on your clothing and like maybe the hand mitts, because your hands, they're the biggest thing, because they're obviously controlling the bike, so keeping those comfortable and free moving is very important. Because you've got your front brake, the clutch, the accelerator all being controlled by your hands. You could do with those remaining warm. And in regards to clothing, you don't have to spend a lot of money either. I mean, the jacket I'm currently wearing is actually my work jacket, but it's just a bomber jacket. It's nothing, it's nothing special. It is just a nice big thick jacket, Similarly with the waterproof trousers, they're just a cheap pair of sight trousers. They're not anything like sort of expensive or special from the bike shops, because a lot of the time with those sorts of things you could spend a lot of money on windproof trousers and stuff, and they probably won't actually be any different to what I'm wearing now, like in their effectiveness. It's just all about adding layers is all it is. So yeah, that's mainly it. Let's say that there is plenty of other stuff you can do. If you want to spend money, you can do all sorts of things to your bike, like, you know, convert the seat to a heated seat and all that kind of stuff, but really it's just about wrapping yourself up. I mean, it sounds so obvious, but it's true. Just add as many layers as you want or can and make yourself comfortable, and stop worrying about what other people think of you looks wise. So moving on then from the riding in the cold to riding in the dark, because as I said before, obviously, especially if you're commuting, chances are it's going to get dark fairly quickly. You know, you're riding in the dark pretty much in the morning and afternoon, evening. So really, with that one, the main thing is just making yourself as visible as possible, because if you drive a car as well, you'll know that, especially if it's cold, if it's been a long day and everything else, and you get in your nice warm car, your little heated box, you do tend to get a bit drowsy, which does obviously affect your concentration, which means, yes, you might be looking around at what's happening around you, but you might not necessarily be taking it all in. And if you see if there's a biker out there that's wearing all black and, you know, is very hard to see, you might not necessarily clock them. So, as a biker, I would highly recommend, particularly this time of year, wearing some sort of high-vis. Now, obviously today I am pretty much entirely high-vis. That wasn't necessarily intentional, it's just because the stuff I'm wearing is my work stuff, and, well, it's lovely and warm, which is fantastic. But yeah, I am incredibly visible. It would be almost impossible for someone not to see me with this lot on. You don't have to go quite that far. You can literally just wear like a high-vis tabard or something, but I'd highly recommend something, just because people are that little bit more drowsy in their cars of an evening when it's cold, and, you know, it's not that they're not looking out for you as such, but they're just maybe not taking everything in as much as they otherwise would be. So try and make yourself as visible as you can. I've actually just been bought for my birthday. I went and got a new bike jacket, went and picked one out, and I have gone for a black one, but it does have some fluorescent lines on it. I could have gone for an entirely black one, but I just wanted those fluorescent lines there because of that extra layer of visibility. I don't know, I'm just getting to that sort of age now where I'm sort of quite conscious that I don't really want to be involved in an accident, so yeah, like, even if you've got all black gear and everything else, just wear a tabard. Again, yes, you may look a tiny bit dorky with it on and not as cool as you could look, but really your safety is much more important than looking cool. So yeah, there you go. And that's basically it, guys. Like I say, I am gonna, when it gets a bit colder, when it starts to snow and get icy and stuff, I will do another video talking about obviously slippery conditions in the ice and the snow. Talk a little bit more about controlling the bike in those conditions as well, because an element of that will come into it. And yeah, I've got a few other videos coming relatively soon as well of various other conditions, but for now I'm going to leave it there. If you did happen to like the video, please do give it a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Go check out the other videos, because there are one or two other riding in different weather conditions videos, and I've got my motor vlogs and how-to videos and reviews and all that kind of stuff. And for now, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you again soon.